Hello and welcome to this portion of Active Living. Today we're very fortunate to have Dr. Mastromatteo with us. Dr. Mastromatteo is one of the prime movers of putting together the Orion Veterans Memorial. Welcome to our show, Doctor.
Thank you, George.
We want to just discuss a little bit of the background of the Orion Veterans Memorial and talk a little bit about the process of the building of the memorial, and also about some of the trials and tribulations you've gone through, but mostly we want to talk about some of the things that are represented in the memorial.
Certainly.
So, when did you actually start this project?
It was at Children's Park, 1994, I believe, and it was the 50th anniversary of D-Day.
Wow. Okay.
And that was the motivating factor to do something more in honor of our veterans of World War II, which is the biggest war in the world.
And how many people did you have actually involved in starting up this project?
Just a handful of interested people, maybe 4 or 5.
Okay.
And I was on the board of directors of the Orion Chamber of Commerce, and they gave me the job of beautification. And I think flowers and baskets hanging from lampposts are just wonderful. But I did have a different idea, and that was the construction of a Veterans Memorial to honor the veterans of not only our area, but also those of our nation.
Well, it certainly is a worthwhile project. And like we were talking before the show, one of the things we talked about is having the opportunity to interview several of the veterans in the area, and those people will be shown on ONTV around Memorial Day. But we'd like to get to the process of getting this memorial put together, and what it took to really get the project started and underway.
Well, that just an idea in all of our heads isn't good enough, as you know. You got to start putting it into action. And we never built a memorial before, so we didn't know where to start, how to do it, and what goes into something of a project like this. We didn't have a home, that is to say, any place to build it.
Right.
And so we prevailed on people like the leaders in our community. At that time, the supervisor, I believe, was Doug Brown.
Sure.
And he being a Marine, we had no problem in saying, Doug, we want to build a memorial.
Right.
How can you help us? And he says, I'll do anything I possibly can. And he certainly helped us get the ball rolling.
Well, I know he still has the Marine flags flying out in front of his house.
Well, you know what I mean then. Yeah,
right.
Absolutely. Once a Marine, look out.
I know.
But anyhow, we had to go to land. We found out the property we were interested in was where it is now,
Right.
but it was owned by the Michigan Department of Transportation. And we thought, oh, this would be wonderful. If we could convince them of building a memorial, we could buy it for $1 like they did in the old days.
Right.
And so forth. They said those days are long gone. you got to present something from a state qualified realtor and present it to the legislature up in Lansing.
Mm-hmm.
And so we had to get the Chamber of Commerce, the president of that organization, together with a representative from our area, who was Matt Danaskis at the time,
Sure.
Senator Danaskis. And so a group of us went to Lansing to prevail on the Michigan Department of Transportation to please allow us to buy this at a decent price.
Right.
And of course, that property is very, very valuable.
Sure.
Well, anyhow, after a year's work from Dean Appraisal Company, which is no longer in business, it's owned by a different person, of Birmingham, who donated their expertise, by the way. It took us a year to put all of that together,
Wow.
present it to Michigan Department of Transportation, and they agreed to allow us to go ahead with it for the cost of $39,000, which was still a bargain, but it was $39,000 back in those days we had to come up with.
That 4 guys didn't have.
Exactly. So anyhow, the township board of trustees, God bless them, they put their blessing on this project, and it began that way.
Great.
As time went on, we bought the property next to it, thanks to Larry Obrecht, who was commissioner at the time.
Right.
And Larry told us how we could purchase the next parcel.
Right.
And that's the way it is to this day. If we had just the parcel we had to begin with, it wouldn't command nearly the attention that it does right now.
Right. Right.
So thanks to Larry Obrecht on that. And as you can see, the dovetailing of different volunteers and people of interest came together right in the beginning.
I know I've been driving by there in the last couple of weeks, and there's been several veterans out there working on the platform that's being built, the stage that's being built out there.
Oh yeah.
So those guys are really into it.
Very, very much so.
So now that you have this thing approved, what kind of planning did you do to come up with the overall plan for the memorial?
Well,
Because I know there's a lot of different pieces there, and they all mean something very special to a lot of veterans.
I have to go right back to our architect, Leonard Else. Leonard I knew from years ago, and he had some ideas, and God bless Leonard too, because he went all around the area, taking samples of construction and materials, and he found out that this is the gravel capital of the world. Yeah. So he came up with a portfolio of what he thought we should use, and that's why you see fieldstone out there.
Right.
It represents the area. And then he also said, well, you're going to have some killed in action veterans. You're going to have this, yes. So what he did, he orchestrated the walls in his drawings that you see, and this represents an outside cathedral, which later on was blessed by priests, ministers, and rabbis. Wow. And so that's sacred, blessed ground. And then I went on to research all the other memorials at that time, and we thought we would want to honor the military branches of service, which is one wall.
Right.
It's got the Army, Navy, Air Force, Marine, Coast Guard, and even the Merchant Marine, which hardly anybody remembers. But in World War II, the Merchant Marine were very big. Matter of fact, percentage-wise, they lost more personnel than any other branch of service.
I was just reading the other day where I think they lost something like 1,500 ships in the Atlantic alone.
That's correct. I don't know that number, but they lost a lot.
It's a big number.
That's true. And then he wanted to, of course, we had to have a wall of the benefactors,
right?
The people who are so involved in constructing this, both in many ways, not only just money, but also work, and as well as planning and help and maintenance and so forth, as you can imagine. The third wall, we wanted to recognize our fight for freedom. And all of these walls were commanded many hours in meetings at the board of directors for years, just years, to try to find out the best of everything.
Right.
We later on, Joe Zekwich, Joe, a World War II veteran, had a very unfortunate accident which he lived through. In World War II, a kamikaze Japanese airplane exploded on his aircraft carrier called the USS Lexington, and Joe got a piece, and 44 of his comrades were killed, and they buried him over the rail into the ocean, right, as was normal. But he never forgot that scene. He was so impressed, he wanted to do something more. And years later, he came up with the Peacoat Monument. This represents the military personnel who were lost or buried at sea, and in their honor.
Right.
So he has the peacoat draped over a chair with the Navy cap sitting on the seat of the chair, known as the Peacoat Monument, in honor of the military personnel lost or buried at sea.
And I understand that all the names of the people that were on his ship are also that were killed were also on that monument. Is that correct?
That's not the monument, but they're engraved in bricks, all 44 of them.
Okay.
They're engraved in special blue-gray bricks, the only blue-gray bricks in the whole memorial.
Wow.
And with their names on them. One of those bricks, by the way, is Kinnick of Iowa.
Okay.
Kinnick was the second Heisman Trophy football player in our football history.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yes.
So in addition to you've got the Peacoat Monument. In addition to that, you also have a very outstanding monument right in the center of the memorial, which is the family. Can you
Right.
tell us a little bit about that?
Oh, absolutely. This is called for years, the board could not agree on what to put into the center monument.
Mm-hmm.
We discussed an airplane. We discussed a battleship. We discussed an aircraft carrier. We discussed a tank, and all of those things. And the more we discussed them, the more we couldn't agree on any one thing, till finally we all came together unanimously and said, we don't need articles of war. What we need are the most important thing, and that's the family unit.
Right.
And we did agree on that, as you can see. And we came up with the idea first of a soldier going off to war. Well, and then we had the soldier coming home from war. We didn't want to go one way or the other. So finally, we put them together.
Right.
And
Okay.
we call that the family unit. The mother hugging the soldier.
Right.
You leave it up to the viewer to interpret it.
Mm-hmm.
Is the soldier coming home or going away? His little sister with her arm around his waist, hugging him.
Right.
The father standing behind the mother, hugging the son. And so this represents the soldier either going away or coming home.
This is a fantastic. I look at that and I just kind of tear up when I see it.
Good.
It's
That's what it should do, George.
yeah, it's a great memorial. Now, in addition to that, are there any other things at the memorial that are important?
Well, the engraved bricks on which everybody walks, a fantastic lesson in history. We've got names of battleships, airplanes, people, the veterans. And looking into this, people can go back into the Revolutionary War. We've got one family there from the, representatives from the Revolutionary War in 1777.
Wow.
On to the Civil War, on to World War I, on to World War II, on to Vietnam.
Wow.
That's one family. That's the Parkhurst family.
Parkhurst. I think I talked to a Mr. Parkhurst.
Probably Jim.
Yes,
That's
I
right.
did.
Oh, Jim.
Yes, I did.
I can't praise Jim enough. He's got a military uniform museum up in Oxford.
We have a half-hour program that we've done on museums.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Oh,
that's going to be part of our series.
He has spent years putting that together.
It's a great museum.
Yeah.
Well, our time is getting very short, and what I want to do is basically thank you for coming in and talking to us here at ONTV, and talking to us about the Orion Memorial. It's a fantastic. If you haven't been out there, ladies and gentlemen, you should absolutely visit it. It is a great memorial. So thank you for joining us today. Appreciate it.
George, thank you.
Thank you.